Have you ever felt completely powerless while watching someone you love suffer, desperately wishing you could do something, anything to bring them relief? Or perhaps you've faced your own health crisis, praying with everything in you for healing, only to feel like your words evaporate into empty air, met with nothing but silence. What if I told you that the very act of reaching outward for healing power is the exact thing preventing you from becoming the healing channel you were created to be? For years, maybe even your entire life, you've been taught that healing comes from somewhere outside yourself. You've been conditioned to look up toward the heavens, to seek sacred spaces, to wait for intermediaries who can somehow bridge the gap between your desperate need and God's healing touch. You've been trained to believe that divine healing power is reserved for the specially chosen, the extraordinarily faithful, or those who somehow manage to pray hard enough, long enough, or purely enough to finally break through to the other side. Has this ever happened to you? You're sitting beside a hospital bed, watching someone you care about struggle with pain, and you feel this crushing weight of helplessness. Or maybe you're the one dealing with physical symptoms that won't respond to treatment, and you've prayed until your voice goes hoarse, begged until tears won't come anymore, only to wake up the next morning to the same unchanging reality. In those moments, a terrible question starts whispering in your mind. Am I doing something wrong? Is God even listening to me? Am I simply not worthy of being used as a healing vessel? But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Here's the truth that changes absolutely everything. The healing presence you've been desperately seeking in all those external places has been residing within your own consciousness this entire time, waiting patiently for you to stop straining outward and start recognizing inward. The greatest spiritual tragedy of our generation isn't that God has withdrawn healing power from the world. It's that we've fundamentally misunderstood where that power actually dwells and how it flows through ordinary people like you and me. What you're about to discover might completely revolutionize not just how you pray for healing, but how you actually become a conduit through which divine healing energy flows to touch the lives around you. Stay with me until the end of this teaching, because the 5 sacred shifts we're exploring today aren't complicated mystical practices requiring years of training or special spiritual gifts. They're simple, profound adjustments in awareness that have helped thousands of people awaken to their identity as healing channels. People who discovered that the kingdom of healing isn't a distant destination, but a present reality waiting to express itself through their very presence. The transformation begins the moment you understand why you've been looking in the wrong direction all along, and how a simple reorientation of your spiritual awareness opens the floodgates to healing power you never knew you were capable of channeling. This revolutionary truth stands in stark contrast to everything conventional spirituality has taught you. The I am healing presence, that divine consciousness that Jesus spoke of when he said, "The kingdom of heaven is within you," has been broadcasting continuously from within your own awareness this entire time. It hasn't been hiding. It hasn't been testing your dedication or waiting for you to become worthy enough. It's been there, steady and constant, like a radio frequency that never stops transmitting, waiting only for you to tune your inner receiver to the right channel. This isn't just another spiritual technique to add to your collection of prayers and practices. This is a fundamental shift in perception that transforms the entire way healing flows through your life. Think about what your journey has looked like up until this moment. You've been taught that divine healing power is something you achieve through effort, something you earn through discipline and dedication, something that requires you to try harder, pray longer, be more faithful, more pure, more spiritually advanced. But here's the hidden truth that changes everything. Healing consciousness isn't something you build through striving. It's something you awaken to through recognition. The impact of this single revelation can't be overstated. When you grasp that healing energy isn't flowing toward you from some distant divine source, but rather through you from an infinite wellspring within, your entire relationship with sickness, pain, and suffering transforms. Imagine what your days would look like if you woke up each morning already connected to this healing stream, not hoping today might be the day you finally break through, not wondering if you'll be spiritually aligned enough to help someone in need, but simply recognizing what has always been present, what has never stopped flowing, what is your birthright as a divine being. Picture yourself walking into a room where someone is suffering, and instead of feeling that familiar helplessness, you experience a quiet knowing that healing presence is already moving through you. Envision facing your own health challenges not with the crushing weight of fear and desperation, but with access to an inner clarity so certain that anxiety becomes almost irrelevant. This isn't wishful thinking or positive affirmation. This is the actual lived experience that becomes available when you stop reaching outward for healing power and start recognizing the infinite reservoir within your own consciousness. Now, I want to go even deeper into what makes this transformation so accessible, because the real beauty of this truth is its simplicity. The mindset shift required isn't complicated or esoteric. You don't need decades of meditation practice or theological training. You don't need to become someone different or achieve some advanced spiritual status before you're qualified to be a healing channel. The journey begins with small, repeated decisions to turn your awareness inward rather than outward, to recognize rather than strive, to allow rather than force. Behind the scenes of every genuine healing breakthrough is this foundational recognition. The divine healing intelligence that created your body and sustains every cell within it is not separate from you. It is the very essence of your being, the I am presence that existed before you were born and will continue beyond your physical form. If you're beginning to sense that this isn't just information, but an invitation to step into your true identity as a healing channel, write in the comments, "I recognize the healer within." The first sacred shift happens the moment you stop straining and start recognizing. This sounds almost too simple, doesn't it? Everything you've ever been taught about accessing divine healing involves exhausting effort. You've been told to pray harder, fast longer, confess more thoroughly, believe more intensely. You've been carrying this crushing weight of spiritual performance, thinking that if you could just do enough, be enough, sacrifice enough, then maybe, just maybe, you'd finally become worthy of channeling God's healing power. But here's the hidden truth that liberates you from this exhausting cycle. Divine healing energy isn't something you earn through spiritual achievement. It's something you tune into through awareness. Think of it like this. Right now, countless radio signals are passing through the room where you're sitting. Music, news, conversations, all of it moving through the air around you, invisible but completely present. Your inability to hear those signals doesn't mean they're not there. It simply means your receiver isn't tuned to the right frequency. The same principle applies to healing consciousness. The divine healing presence isn't playing hard to get. It isn't testing your dedication or waiting for you to prove yourself worthy. It's broadcasting continuously, a constant stream of life-giving energy that never stops flowing. The only real question is whether you've adjusted your inner awareness to receive it. I create these videos for seekers ready for genuine transformation. If this resonated with you, subscribe and join this community exploring practical ways to experience divine healing consciousness in everyday life. This transformation in mindset changes everything about how you approach your days, especially those first precious moments when you transition from sleep to waking. Your morning holds extraordinary power that most people completely overlook in their rush to grab their phone and dive into the demands waiting for them. But what if those initial seconds could establish the healing consciousness through which your entire day unfolds? Before your feet touch the floor tomorrow morning, before you reach for anything external, pause for just a breath and silently acknowledge this truth. The kingdom of healing is within me right now. This divine health is my true nature. These aren't magic words or empty affirmations designed to manipulate reality into conforming to your wishes. They're recognition statements that align your awareness with what has always been true. You're not creating healing presence through this practice. You're simply tuning your consciousness to receive the frequency that's already broadcasting. The impact of this simple morning ritual extends far beyond those initial seconds. You're establishing a foundational mindset that becomes the lens through which you experience everything that follows. That health concern you've been worried about, you approach it from a different foundation. That person in your life who needs healing, you interact with them as a channel rather than a helpless bystander. The physical symptoms that usually trigger immediate panic, you respond from a deeper place of spiritual grounding that allows wisdom to emerge beyond fear's static. The journey of becoming a healing channel isn't about adding complicated practices to an already overwhelmed schedule. It's about these small, consistent decisions to return your awareness to what's already present. Behind the scenes of every remarkable healing testimony is usually this simple, repeated recognition, sometimes dozens of times throughout a single day, that divine healing consciousness is your true nature, not something you need to achieve, but something you need to remember. If this shift from straining to recognizing feels like relief washing over your spirit, write in the comments, "I choose recognition over effort." What's fascinating about this journey is that the transformation doesn't require the dramatic intensity most of us have been conditioned to pursue. We live in a culture absolutely obsessed with breakthrough moments, with those life-changing peak experiences that supposedly flip everything upside down in a single instant. You've probably tried this approach yourself, waiting until things get desperate, then throwing yourself into hours of intense prayer, hoping that sheer force of will and emotional intensity will finally crack open the heavens and unleash healing power. But here's what actually creates lasting transformation. 5 minutes of healing presence practiced consistently every single day will reshape your consciousness far more profoundly than occasional marathon sessions driven by crisis and panic. Your spiritual receptors don't respond well to dramatic overhauls and desperate surges of energy. They're much more like a musical instrument being tuned, requiring gentle, consistent adjustments that gradually bring you into perfect alignment with the healing frequency of the I am within you. Think about anything meaningful you've ever developed in your life. Did any skill, any relationship, any deep understanding ever happen overnight? The things that truly reshape us unfold through accumulated small decisions, through showing up day after day even when immediate results aren't visible, through trusting the process when everything in our instant gratification mindset screams for faster progress. This is where the practice becomes beautifully practical in your everyday existence. Throughout your day, you encounter countless moments that either reinforce old fear-based patterns or create new pathways for healing consciousness to flow. These decision points happen so quickly you might not even notice them unless you're paying attention. When you feel that first twinge of pain or notice an unusual symptom in your body, you have approximately 3 seconds before your conditioned response kicks into full gear. 3 seconds before panic floods your nervous system, before worst-case scenarios start spinning through your mind, before you completely disconnect from the healing presence within and spiral into pure reactivity. But within that brief window lies extraordinary power. Even 30 seconds of consciously returning to inner healing consciousness creates sacred space for divine clarity to emerge beyond what your physical senses are reporting. You're not denying the symptom or pretending nothing's happening. You're accessing a deeper reality that holds wisdom your fear-constricted mind simply cannot perceive. This same principle applies when you're with someone who's suffering. That moment when you first see their pain, you have a choice point. Will you immediately join them in fear consciousness, reinforcing the very frequency that blocks healing flow? Or will you use that sacred pause to anchor yourself in the recognition that divine healing presence is flowing through you right now, regardless of what physical appearances suggest? The impact of these brief returns to healing awareness compounds over time in ways that can seem almost miraculous to outside observers. Behind the scenes, you're training your consciousness to default to presence rather than panic, to rest in divine knowing rather than human worry. Each time you choose that 30-second pause, you're literally rewiring the neural pathways and spiritual receptors that determine how healing energy moves through your being. If you've experienced even one moment where pausing to recognize healing presence shifted how you responded to a health challenge, write in the comments, "The pause changed everything." The second sacred shift emerges precisely in those moments that feel most terrifying, when physical symptoms show up in your body and every instinct screams at you to panic. Your conditioned response follows such a predictable pattern. The moment you notice something wrong, fear floods your entire system before you've even made a conscious decision about how to respond. Your spiritual awareness completely shuts down, replaced by exclusive focus on material solutions, worst-case medical scenarios, and the overwhelming feeling that your body has somehow betrayed you. But what if these very moments, the ones that feel most threatening, are actually invitations to experience healing consciousness at its most profound? The transformation happens when you train yourself to turn within first, before allowing panic to hijack your nervous system. In that initial moment when symptoms appear, you pause and recognize this truth. In the kingdom of heaven within me, there is only wholeness and divine perfection. This isn't about denying physical reality or refusing appropriate medical care. It's about creating sacred space where God's healing voice can speak clearly, offering guidance that remains completely inaccessible when fear dominates your awareness. You're establishing a foundation of spiritual truth before engaging with material circumstances, which fundamentally changes how healing unfolds. Now, I want to reveal something that might surprise you about how deeply interconnected your healing journey is with other areas of your life. The third sacred shift addresses what many people discover, but few talk about openly: the way financial stress and health concerns become entangled in a vicious cycle that blocks healing flow. Think about what happens when unexpected medical expenses arrive at the same moment you're already struggling financially. The fear intensifies exponentially. You're not just worried about your health anymore. You're simultaneously terrified about how you'll pay for treatment, whether you can afford to miss work, what will happen if this condition persists. This combined stress creates such intense static that divine healing guidance becomes virtually impossible to hear. The hidden truth behind this struggle reveals something revolutionary about how healing actually works. From the kingdom perspective, that dimension of consciousness where divine intelligence operates, substance of every kind, including healing energy itself, is infinite and omnipresent. Your actual experience of health isn't determined solely by external medical conditions or material circumstances. It's primarily a reflection of your consciousness, the frequency you're broadcasting from deep within. When you approach illness from scarcity mindset, convinced that healing resources are limited and you might not get your share, you're literally constricting the channels through which divine healing flows. But when you recognize that healing energy is as unlimited as God's own nature, something shifts in how your body responds. This doesn't mean you ignore practical financial planning or refuse to address real medical needs. It means you're bringing healing consciousness to practical matters, allowing spiritual wisdom to inform material decisions rather than letting material panic override your connection to divine guidance. Behind the scenes of many remarkable healing stories is this fundamental shift. The moment someone stopped making health decisions from fear and scarcity and started accessing the unlimited intelligence that sees possibilities their anxious mind cannot perceive. If you're beginning to see how your mindset about abundance and limitation affects your physical healing journey, write in the comments, "Healing flows from within." The fourth sacred shift reveals something most people never consider about the healing journey. It's not just about receiving healing for yourself, but becoming a channel through which divine healing flows to others. This transformation happens when you begin recognizing that same I am presence, not only within yourself, but within every person you encounter. Your most challenging relationships suddenly become the very places where healing consciousness gets to demonstrate its reality. Think about that difficult person in your life right now, the one who triggers frustration or hurt every time you interact with them. Your conditioned response is to focus on what's wrong with them, how they need to change, why they're making your life harder. But here's the hidden truth that revolutionizes everything. The catalyst for healing in relationships isn't finding perfect people or waiting for others to transform first. It's learning to approach every interaction from kingdom awareness, accessing divine wisdom about how to be a healing presence, regardless of how the other person is showing up. When you walk into a room carrying healing consciousness, something shifts in the atmosphere, even before words are spoken. You're not trying to fix anyone or force change through willpower. You're simply allowing the divine presence within you to recognize itself in them, creating space where healing can unfold naturally. This doesn't mean conflicts magically disappear or people suddenly become who you want them to be. It means you're responding to relationship challenges from an entirely different foundation, one that holds the possibility of healing even in the midst of difficulty. Now, I want to explore something that amplifies this healing awareness exponentially. As your consciousness deepens through these practices, you'll discover that seeking authentic spiritual community becomes not just helpful, but essential. There's a phenomenon that happens when multiple people gather with shared commitment to healing presence that's difficult to explain, but unmistakable when you experience it. The collective field that forms when even 2 or 3 people practice kingdom awareness together creates an amplification effect that makes divine healing guidance far more accessible than when you're working alone. Think of it like acoustic resonance. Certain physical spaces are designed to amplify sound naturally. Concert halls, cathedrals, amphitheaters. The same note played in an empty field versus inside one of these structures sounds completely different because the environment itself enhances the sound. Spiritual community works similarly. When you're surrounded by people who understand healing consciousness, who are also learning to recognize the divine presence within themselves, the revelations come more easily, insights emerge more clearly. The transformation that might take months of solitary practice can sometimes unfold in moments within authentic fellowship. This doesn't mean you need to join formal religious organizations or abandon existing connections. Sometimes the most powerful spiritual community happens around kitchen tables, in living rooms, through honest conversations with even one other person who shares your commitment to being a healing channel. Behind the scenes of many remarkable healing breakthroughs is this simple reality. We awaken more fully together than we ever could in isolation. The impact of practicing healing presence alongside others creates momentum that carries everyone forward in ways individual effort alone cannot achieve. If you're sensing that finding your spiritual community could accelerate your journey as a healing channel, write in the comments, "I'm ready for authentic fellowship." The fifth sacred shift transforms one of the largest portions of your waking life, your work. For most people, their professional environment feels completely disconnected from anything spiritual. The pressure of deadlines, difficult personalities, and performance expectations creates such intense stress that divine presence seems like a distant concept that has no practical application in the real world. But what if your workplace isn't separate from your healing journey at all? What if it's actually one of the primary arenas where you get to practice being a healing channel? Imagine approaching your professional life not as mere employment you endure to pay bills, but as sacred expression of the healing consciousness within you. That project deadline that usually triggers anxiety becomes an opportunity to demonstrate calm presence in the midst of pressure. That colleague who consistently pushes your buttons becomes a chance to let divine peace flow through you, responding from kingdom awareness rather than reactive frustration. You're not trying to change your job or escape to something more spiritual. You're bringing healing consciousness to whatever work you're already doing, and the transformation in how you experience those hours is remarkable. The impact extends far beyond just feeling better about your job. When you approach professional challenges from healing awareness, you access unlimited intelligence that operates beyond the stressed, constricted thinking that dominates most workplaces. Creative solutions emerge naturally. You find yourself handling difficult situations with wisdom that surprises even you. Behind the scenes, you're becoming a stabilizing presence that affects everyone around you, often in ways you'll never fully see or measure. Now, I want to reveal what happens as this healing consciousness matures through your consistent practice of these sacred shifts. You discover something that goes beyond any specific benefit or breakthrough, an authentic peace that doesn't depend on circumstances being perfect. This isn't the artificial calm that comes from temporarily having everything under control, or the fragile positivity that shatters the moment challenges arise. It's a foundational tranquility that transcends whatever physical symptoms you might be facing, whatever health concerns are present in your life or the lives of people you love. The hidden truth here is profound and life-changing. When you establish yourself firmly in healing consciousness, what you access isn't just guidance about specific decisions, though that certainly flows more clearly. What emerges is a deeper reality, an unshakable anchor of peace that remains steady regardless of what your body is experiencing or what the medical reports are saying. Health concerns still warrant appropriate attention and care. You're not ignoring symptoms or refusing treatment, but you're no longer consumed by anxiety about outcomes. You're no longer paralyzed by fear of what might happen. Divine healing guidance flows with remarkable clarity when your consciousness isn't constantly clouded by worry and panic. You make better decisions about treatment. You hear your body's wisdom more accurately. You recognize which voices to listen to and which fears to release. The journey isn't about guaranteeing specific physical outcomes. It's about discovering that the kingdom of healing within you provides a stability that external circumstances simply cannot shake. If you've tasted even a moment of this peace that transcends your circumstances, write in the comments, "Peace flows from kingdom consciousness." Now, I want to be completely honest with you about what this journey actually demands, because the transformation we're talking about requires something that challenges everything our instant gratification culture has taught us. This pathway to becoming a healing channel isn't a weekend workshop that produces immediate enlightenment or a 21-day challenge that permanently shifts your consciousness. The reality is that some people begin practicing these sacred shifts and experience remarkable healing breakthroughs within weeks. They see tangible changes in their health, witness unexpected recoveries, feel the unmistakable flow of divine healing energy moving through them in ways that leave no doubt something profound has shifted. Others work diligently for months, showing up every single day to recognize healing presence, practicing these pauses, returning again and again to kingdom consciousness and the visible. Changes take longer to manifest. The decisive factor here isn't spiritual talent or some kind of divine favoritism where God chooses to bless certain people and not others. It's simple persistence, the willingness to continue even when immediate results aren't obvious, trusting that each moment you return to healing awareness creates subtle adjustments in your consciousness that are preparing you to receive and channel divine healing more clearly. Think about the most meaningful transformations you've experienced in any area of your life. Did any of them actually happen overnight? Real change, the kind that fundamentally reshapes how you operate in the world, almost always unfolds through accumulated small decisions rather than singular dramatic moments. Behind the scenes of what looks like sudden healing breakthrough is usually months of these quiet, consistent practices. Countless small choices to recognize rather than panic, to pause rather than react, to trust divine intelligence rather than surrender to fear. The mindset shift required here goes against everything we've been conditioned to expect. We want instant results, immediate proof, tangible evidence that our efforts are working. But consciousness unfolds according to its own natural timing, and your role is to create optimal conditions through consistent practice rather than demanding specific outcomes on your preferred timeline. Each recognition, each sacred pause, each moment you align with healing presence is like tuning a musical instrument, small adjustments that gradually bring you into perfect resonance with divine healing frequency. Now, I want to reveal something beautiful that happens as you persist on this journey. Your personal awakening to healing consciousness naturally creates impact that extends far beyond your individual experience. As you practice channeling God's healing presence more clearly through these sacred shifts, something shifts in how you show up in the world. You become a living example that quietly inspires others without you even trying or intending to teach them anything. Your calm in the midst of health challenges demonstrates a different way of being that people notice even when they can't quite articulate what's different about you. The ripples of your transformation spread in directions you'll never fully see. A colleague watches how you handle a difficult diagnosis and begins questioning their own automatic panic response. A family member notices your transformed approach to pain and physical limitation, sensing there's something you've accessed that they haven't yet discovered. If you're willing to commit to this journey, regardless of how long visible transformation takes, write in the comments, "I trust the process." If you've stayed with me through this entire journey, you're exactly the kind of person this message was meant to reach. There's something in you that's already awakening to these truths, already recognizing the healing presence that's been speaking within you all along. That recognition is what brought you here, and it's what's going to continue guiding you forward as you step more fully into your identity as a healing channel. I create these videos for people like you, seekers who are ready to move beyond surface-level spirituality into genuine transformation, who want to experience God's healing presence not as theory, but as lived reality. If this teaching resonated with something deep inside you, I'd love for you to subscribe and join this community of people who are learning to let divine healing flow through them in everyday life. Each video we create together explores practical ways to become clearer channels for healing consciousness, translating profound spiritual truths into steps you can actually implement starting today. If this message felt like it was speaking directly to your heart, if you sense these 5 sacred shifts are the pathway you've been searching for, write in the comments. This message was meant for me. Your story might be exactly what another person needs to hear to begin their own journey of awakening. There's real power in acknowledging these truths out loud, even if it's just through a few typed words. It's a way of saying yes to the healing consciousness that's stirring within you. And if you found value in what we explored today, if even one insight shifted something in your awareness, consider tapping that like button, not for algorithms or numbers, but as a quiet acknowledgement between us that this conversation mattered, that these truths still have power to transform lives in our anxious, hurting world. There's a video right here that builds beautifully on everything we've discussed today. It shows you how to maintain this healing awareness, even when circumstances seem to contradict everything we've explored about divine presence. Click and continue with me over there as we go deeper into living as healing channels in a world that desperately needs what flows through awakened consciousness. Until we meet again, remember, the healing presence of the I Am is within you right now, closer than your breath, waiting only for your recognition.